Six Nations, folks. This weekend, Scotland up against Ireland. This is looking a mighty tasty one. The Scots are at home, which gives them that home field advantage, obviously, at Murrayfield, up against an unbeaten Irish side. Scotland, who won those first two games, kind of on a little bit of a wave of success, although that last game against France would have been disappointing. And Ireland, man, just the number one side in the world, still hunting that Grand Slam, up against a team they've usually got the wood over. But yeah, there's a lot to like about it. We're going to go through the squads, stats, recent history, predictions, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how you reckon this one is going to go. Scotland, number 5 in the world, like I said, 2-1. Disappointed in that last game against France, I think, and the result there. They did enough to put themselves in the race, but didn't get the result. But yeah, they've named a pretty stable squad. Schoeman, Turner, and Zander Fagerson, that's the front row. That's been kind of pretty steady as she goes for a wee while under Gregor Townsend, at least in this Six Nations, right? Schoeman gives him the meterage in terms of his big carrying and whatnot. He's good around the park, and he's good in the scrum as well. Zander Fagerson's going to be the guy who tries to put a bit of pressure on what's a bloody good Irish scrum. And then George Turner's also been exceptionally busy around the park. The Gray brothers are in the second row, so obviously Gilchrist got suspended in that last game, so he's got a ban. So they needed to make a change, so Jonny Gray comes up from the bench. I'm not complaining about that. You guys know I'm a big Jonny Gray fan. Huge work rate on that guy, and Ritchie Gray has been exceptional as well, so we'll see how those guys go together. Matt Fagerson shifts to the 6th jersey this week. Jamie Ritchie shifts to 7, and Jack Dempsey gets a promotion, I guess, to the number 8 jersey. So the fact that Hamish Watson has dropped to the bench means there's a little bit of tinkering. Gregor Townsend basically said that Dempsey's done well off the bench and he's going to be a good match, essentially, for the Irish. So I guess they're looking at someone to try and match the work rate and performance levels of Caelan Doris. That's a big old housefly. That's looking for some breakfast, maybe, because it is breakfast time here in New Zealand. But yeah, that's the Scottish back row. So a little bit of tinkering. Hamish Watson is on the bench, and Scott Cummings is there as well. Gregor Townsend basically said he's looking them to bring a bit of speed off the bench when they do come on. For the backs, Ben White, Finn Russell, same. Finn Russell, like, I know he gets a lot of kind of cliche words talked about, a maverick and mercurial and whatnot, but like, can I give you some stats about Finn Russell? Like, he's got the most try assists of anyone in the Six Nations with 4. He's got the most carries of any back. He also has the most handling errors and the most missed tackles. So he's literally just like rocks and diamonds, like all in one package. He can just do unbelievable stuff and have you shaking your head. The stats also, I think, reflect a bit of Finn Russell. But yeah, I know I love watching me some Finn Russell. So I'm looking forward to him have a blinder. Sione, Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones continue on in that midfield. That's really getting some steam up at international level, isn't it? And then Kyle Steyn, Duhan van der Merwe on the wings. Duhan's your top guy for tackles beaten, so he's a real unit. And then Stuart Hogg gets his 100th cap at fullback, so big congratulations to him. That's a massive, massive achievement. So that's your starting 15. Brown, Bhatti and Berghan are on the bench. So Berghan comes in for Nell. I mentioned Watson and Cummings, plus Ali Price, Blair, Kinghorn and Chris Harris comes back in. So it's no 6-2 split this time. It's a more traditional 3 backs on the bench for the Scots. For Ireland, they've also made a few changes. Remember, they tinkered a little bit for that last game up against the Italians, and I honestly think watching Andy Farrell is now like my favourite press conference to watch. Like, his answers are gold. And not because he's like trying to, he's not trying to kind of needle at the journalists like Eddie Jones kind of used to. He's not trying to get any headlines out of what he says. He's just genuinely quite honest and doesn't always put like the filter of like what he like how he should articulate some of the stuff. He just says, like, if someone asked him, is this your best team that you've picked? And he's like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, does it? These are the guys I've got. These are the ones I've picked. So yeah, fair, man. I love that kind of answer. So Andrew Porter, Dan Sheehan and Tiger Furlong. So that's a changed front row, man. So you see Dan Sheehan getting a start ahead of Keller, who started last time. Remember, Dan Sheehan was coming back from an injury last time, so he's back to the starting jersey. And Tyke Furlong's back after missing the opening 3 rounds. I mean, not Cian Healy. What's the other guy? Finlay Beelum. Finlay Beelum was the guy who was really stepping up to the plate in his absence. And, did the job admirably well, but how good is it to have Tiger Furlong back? And he's back to starting as well. Andy Farrell basically said that he's always up to speed. Like, there's no risk of him not being up to speed. So he said when Tiger's like eating or like, what do you say, like walking or like whenever he's doing anything, he's pretty much thinking about rugby. So yeah, there's no chance of him being off the pace. So good looking front row. Henderson and Ryan continue on in the locking department. Peter Romani is back into the starting 15. Back into the number 6 jersey from the bench. Josh van der Fleer still at 7. And Caelan Doris switches back to his, I think, more effective 8 jersey from what we've seen of him thus far in the Six Nations. So pretty bloody good looking forward pack. Connor Murray back to the starting role at 9. That's despite Jamison Gibson-Park being back. They kind of asked if he was considered to be put into the starting 15, but Andy Farrell said no, he's just come back from injury, and Murray's been playing well, so Murray gets the nod. Johnny Sexton is likewise always back after missing out a couple of weeks ago, probably to be expected, I guess, for a big game like this, but it's good that he did get a rest a couple of weeks ago. Aki and Ringrose are the midfield, so Ringrose, who missed out last time after being named, was kind of a late withdrawal. They did say McCloskey would have been fit enough to play, but he's got a slight niggle, so there's kind of no point risking him. Mack, Hansen, James Lowe on the wings, and Hugo Keenan's there at fullbacks. The back three pretty much unchanged. The bench, Ronan Kelleher, Cian Healy, Tom O'Toole. Ryan Baird continues on, which is pretty pleasing, and then Jack Conan drops to the bench. Gibson-Park's back, Ross Byrne drops to the bench, and Robbie Henshaw's back! Hooray! I haven't seen that guy about for a wee while. So I guess that's why the journo asked the question. Like, you can bring back in Ringrose, who missed out last time, you can bring back Sexton, you can bring back Furlong, and you can bring back Henshaw and Gibson-Park. Like, no wonder he's asking, is this your best side? But either way, it's a pretty good looking team. More stats. Hugh Jones got 3 tries. He's one of the more effective guys in the Six Nations thus far. Duhan van der Merwe, most tackled busts with 21, as I mentioned. Matt Fagerson, second top tackler in the Six Nations. These are your Scots who are individually looking very successful. James Ryan, top Irish tackler. Caelan Doris, most carries for forwards. He's just an absolute unit. Andrew Porter, interestingly, most penalties conceded in the Six Nations thus far. So that's an area he'll look to be cleaning up. That's an area I would have usually associated with Zander Fagerson, but he missed the first game. So maybe that's part of it. Team-wise, Scotland, man, they got some bloody nice attacking stats. You've got to love them, man. So really similar to Ireland with like defenders beating and clean breaks, like your proper X-Factor stuff. But the key with the Scots is, man, they've got a really high tackling rate, and they're really, really stingy at conceding clean breaks. They only conceded, I think, 2 against England, 1 against Wales. But then they conceded 7 against France. So, yeah, that game was the one that really kind of let them down. Good line-out stats and very much a second-half team in terms of where they've been scoring more of their points and haven't been conceding that many points in the second. Whereas you see the Irish, totally a first-half team in the Six Nations thus far. I think they've scored 73 points in the first half, 27 in the second. So I don't know what's going on with that. It used to be last year that Ireland would just have the relentless fitness and, you know, recycle ball to just tire its sides out. You know, you can only tackle so long, but it's weird that it's a flip this year. So I think Farrell will want the side to punish more a bit in the second half. The attacking numbers, like the Scots I mentioned, are really nice. The defenders beating clean breaks, like very, very similar both sides. And it's a weird one. Ireland, on average last year, only missed 18 tackles a game, which is pretty low. But thus far, this season, it's been 26, so it's a little bit higher than last year, whereas Scotland this year is at 18. So it's the kind of interesting kind of flip. So, yeah, we'll see how the two sides go. The recent history, though, man, it's all Ireland. Last 5, they're all Irish wins. Some of them are pretty solid wins as well, like 27-3 back at the World Cup. Last year was 26-5. Those are games like a neutral venue and in Dublin. The last one at Edinburgh was 27-24, so that's a pretty close one, but that's the only one of the last 5 that's actually at Murrayfield. So the majority of these games, be it Autumn Nations Cup, Six Nations, Rugby World Cup, you know, they're either in Dublin or at neutral venues. So yeah, we'll see what the Murrayfield factor can be. I think it's 2017 since the Scots have last tasted a victory. The average score across the last 5 has been 26-12. So it's been pretty comfortable for the Irish guys. But, I mean, there's also a 19-12 in there back in 2020. So it's been a few games which have been within a score. But for the most part, it's been Ireland's baby. Predictions-wise, the bookies have got Ireland by 7, which is, I think, a kind of comfortable-ish pick, whereas the rugby forecast algorithm says it's going to be tighter than that, saying Ireland, but only by 3. Luke Pierce from England is the ref. It's on at Murrayfield, like I mentioned. 3 p.m. kickoff, which is 4 a.m. for those of us Monday morning here in NZ. It's on RTE in Ireland. It's on the BBC in the UK, both of which are free to air. If you're outside those territories and want to watch VPN, you can watch. Happy days. Link in the description if you want to try it for yourself. That's the one that I use. But there you go, folks. You guys let us know your thoughts. Scotland, Ireland, who are you backing? And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Yeah.